Hello there, my name is Louis Wieland, and for the last 30 years, I've published community profiles magazines that are distributed by the First Multiple Listing Service of Atlanta, which is the website the realtors use to obtain listing information for residential and commercial real estate in the metro area. They have 60,000 agents using that site regularly for information on the real estate, and also they use it for training. The site has information on training and licensing, and basically the First Multiple Listing Service, otherwise known as FMLS, is now partnering with other multiple listing services around the country, including Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, Colorado, and others, Tennessee as well. So basically, if you're an agent and you're looking for real estate for investment opportunities or for residential real estate, check out, I'm sure you're familiar with the website, but the magazines are on that website also. The First Multiple Listing Service has 3 stores where realtors shop for supplies, including our magazines. They're on the website, FMLS website, which gets millions of page views every week, and from realtors all around the country. You do have to have a real estate license to obtain access to that website, however. The magazines are in all of the real estate offices. They're in the multiple listing service stores. They're on the multiple listing service website. I'm also a commercial realtor with KW Commercial, and my area of specialization is land, multifamily, and retail strip malls. If I can help you with any of your real estate needs, just give me a buzz, louwheeland@kw.com. And last time we interviewed Mayor Crist was probably, 2018 maybe, or something like that, or 2016 even, on the show. And the mayor of Lilburn, the great city of Lilburn, and Johnny, welcome back to the show. It's sure nice to have you back after so long.
Pleasure to be here.
Mayor, your population, last time I checked, was 15,168. The square miles hasn't changed, 7.5 square miles. Your millage rate is 4.43 mills. You have 75.8% of your population has a high school graduation certificate, and 30%, almost a third, have postgraduate degrees. So very well-educated population. And so today we would like to talk a little bit about what's going on in your great city. And since we've had the interview several years ago, we have a lot to talk about. My area of specialty being commercial development. I'd like to talk a little bit about your Downtown Development Authority. But anyway, you do have, let me ask you first, we'd like to talk about your Lilburn News and give people an opportunity to sign up to receive that in their emails. We could talk about that, but maybe just give a profile of the city and what's been going on since we did an interview last time with you.
Sure thing. We have grown the city pretty significantly, and we realized along the way that there are several kinds of people that buy homes or want to live in a city, and there are several different parts of an inventory that we need to have as a city. And so Lilburn was built on a whole idea of a half acre and a house, a half acre and a house, a half acre house, half acre. And what we're discovering is that the generation that's up to bat now that is looking for first-time home buyers, they don't want a half acre and a house. They would prefer density, either in the form of a condo, townhouse, or an apartment complex. So we're doing our best to accommodate the needs of people that want to be a part of our community, and that means necessarily our city's changing. Not everybody likes the change, but we're interested in having strollers and ice cream and play areas, parks, and the development of a walkable community that people are really want. So that's what Lilburn is.
Now, what is the figure that I have for your population is 15,168, is that still correct, or where do we
No,
stand?
we're at 16,000.
16,000. And is your millage rate pretty much the same? Anything else changed?
Have not changed that millage rate. We are in the position, one of the few cities out of the 16 cities in Gwinnett County, we're one of the few that live debt-free. And so we have no commercial debt. We have no partnerships. That we have monies in the bank for rainy days and for thriving when economy positions change. And so our whole idea is that without debt and without raising the millage rate, we want to live within our means and utilize other streams of income, such as we just received $1 million appropriations from the federal government to redo our stream, our Camp Creek, that runs right through the middle of our 10-acre park. And so that'll include swim out places for kids and observatories overlooking the creek, and a modification on the way the creek moves so as to not drop sediment in our park. We have been very blessed to have monies come our way without raising that millage rate. In fact, I've been mayor since 2010. Never one time raised the millage rate. Our competition is not Swanee, it's not Beaufort, it's not Norcross, it's not any other city. We're on par to do what we're doing to be the unique city that we are in Gwinnett County called Lilburn. You know how we got our name, Lou?
Actually, I did research that, and I saw that somewhere, but I forgot what it was.
He was the railroad conductor back in the late 1800s. The railroad came through here, and these were just cotton farmers. And they were real impressed with the superintendent that was on board. And they had a meeting in 1910, said, let's incorporate, and what do you want to name it? And they said, how about after that guy? So they're named, first name, Lilburn Trigg Myers was his name, from Alexandria, Virginia.
Wow, how about that?
We're on a first name basis around here.
That's great. Well, you mentioned the park, and the park is, you said 10 acres, a city park?
Not really. 22.
22 acres.
We have the largest park in Gwinnett County. We have a 10-acre park that's developed with, anything from picnicking to, we have a huge, what we call concert field where, just Tuesday night we had food trucks. We probably had 1,000 people here for that. We do concerts during the summers, and we can, 4th of July coming up in just a few weeks, we'll probably have 6,000-7,000 for that event, and they can all be accommodated on Festival Field. But then we had the foresight a number of years ago to purchase 22 more acres. Oh, so I said 22. That's not even correct. 32. So we have 10. We purchased 22. So we'll have a 32-acre park here now. We have to accommodate the fact that Gwinnett County has now 1 million people. In May of last year, we turned over 1 million people in Gwinnett County. And I just shared with you these population statistics. Our city has grown just a couple of thousand, but we just expect this whole run to not stop anytime soon. So we want to have a Central Park like New York City, a major place of for recreation that just gives people a place. And so we're putting together right now a plan for that 22 acres and how that's going to incorporate with our 10 acres. And I go to some concerts at other cities and they jam them all in less than a half block. And I'm thinking we are so fortunate to have this tremendous land so that we can accommodate people and relax them.
Well, congratulations on that. That is a great fact that you have the largest park in the county now. That's a cool fact.
Yeah, you can do
Not
a
that
lot
many
when you have
people know.
land. If you don't give it away, you don't sell it, you don't try to develop it, you just, somebody was thinking about Central Park in New York City. As that city was being designed, somebody said, you're going to put this amount of people here, they need a place to unwind, they need a place to fish, to run, to have a picnic, and the kinds of things you do in a park. So we want to say, what do we want to do in our park? Do we want to play do we want to load it up with pickleball courts and make the Southeast's largest pickleball court stadium? Or do we want to have frisbee golf and just keep it open and walking trails? And so those are major decisions. The things that we do now is going to impact for the next 30 to 50 years. So we want to think carefully before we put a spade in the ground to make something happen in our new space.
Very wise. Now, the Camp Creek Greenway is 4.1 miles, is that right? Still?
It cost $1 million per mile to build that. And we made the list of the top 25 cities in Georgia in which to retire. And I said, what? That's the list we're on? I didn't know we're a retirement community, but the reason is that we made that list. We made a number of top 25 lists. One most recent, Southern Living Magazine did one, and we're one of the most what they say, unique cities to visit, the top 25 in the state of Georgia. But we had this Greenway Trail that my predecessors, I wish that would have been my brain trail, but it wasn't. My predecessors did that. I didn't even help to add on to it. We just were thinking through, do we want more miles right now to connect in with Tucker or Gwinnett County and go toward Tucker or go toward I-85? These trails are just huge. The Silver Comet Trail out in West Atlanta, that goes for miles and miles, tied on into an old railroad bed, and just wonderful places of recreation and biking and walking for that trail. And so it costs $1 million per mile, very expensive to put in because you have to buy land, you have to protect indigenous foliage and animals, insects that are on there. You have to get right of ways. You have to build the thing. And so we put 4.2 miles in, and now to maintain it is quite a job because ours runs in a floodplain and we have plenty of floods, and then to scrape it all off again. But people love walking trails. What it does is, and the reason why we made this top 25 list is you can walk 4.2 miles and never see a car. You're walking along a railway bed. You're walking near a stream. You don't even know you're in Atlanta anymore. It's just so uniquely pastoral. And so we're probably adding to it, but we have to hook up to some other trails that other people are building so that we can extend these distances for people. We do a lot of, in fact, this past weekend we had a 5K run on our trail. Very popular on Saturdays. We wake up often to people exercising, getting ready for these things. So it attracts a lot of nonprofits, schools, churches to come and use a trail for exercise, but raising money for their nonprofit.
4.2 miles is interesting distance. I walked 3 miles last Friday with my daughter, and that was plenty for me. 4.2 miles is a great hike.
Well, ours is, when you think 4.2 miles, well, what is that? Does it go out and then you come back and you did it? I mean, ours doesn't work that way. We have in the center of it, we have our city park, and then it goes off in 3 directions. So you can walk out, you can connect with another park, you can come back, you can connect these trails. So the one that I just did this past weekend was 1 3/4 miles. So I just did that as an out and back. You can make a mile loop. You can make a 2 mile loop. I found as a runner that when I go out and back on a trail, that gets boring. So I like to see new stuff as I go. So I like the loops rather than the straight lines and coming back to the.
I'm a reformed half marathon runner when I was
Yeah.
younger. At this point in time, I can't do 13 miles, but I'm walking 3 and I'm happy. What, tell us a little bit about this. They have an interesting attraction there. Just it's called it's like a temple, I guess, or what is I mean, I can't pronounce. I have some clients from India, and I have a hard time pronouncing their name, and I've never learned.
Oh, yeah.
How do you pronounce it?
BAPS are the initials for something that you nor I can pronounce. But the building is called the Mandir, and it is the largest Indian structure. Mandir basically means house of worship. And so it is totally formed in India. It was brought over here and assembled without any nails or iron, or it's 100% stone. It is the number one tourist attraction in the city or in the county of Gwinnett. 1 million people visit it every year. It's amazing. It's made out of sandstone from India, and these guys or these people that carved it over there used tools that we don't have anymore, and so it's all hand built, and it's just a structural wonder. And obviously, because it is the number one tourist attraction, it's here at the corner of our city, and brings a lot of people to Lilburn.
What are there any? How do you get a tour? Do you have to? Is there a website, or how do you? Is anybody allowed to go take a tour, or what?
Just wear clean socks with no holes.
Clean side, no shoes, I guess, right? No shoes.
You can tour it every day, anytime you want. You don't need a reservation. There are volunteers there that are directing. If a woman would come and have a short skirt, they will give a wrap so that she can cover her knees. You walk into the entry, and all people take off their shoes and walk these steps. I often get embarrassed, so I make sure I have socks with no holes in them. And you can stroll the grounds. And I spoke there Saturday morning, and 1,100 runners gathered to run from the Mandir down to our park, Bryson Park, County Park, and run back 3.5 miles or something like. It was amazing. 1,100 runners. It was
wow, that's
quite.
a lot.
Yeah, they're very community minded. They love Lilburn. They love their mayor. We're pretty much walking hand in hand with the Mandir.
Yeah, I have several Indian clients with whom I have extremely good relationship for buying investment real estate. So there's a lot to talk about. What about commercial real estate investment opportunities? How would you characterize that?
Sure. We have a problem in Lilburn, and that is our land has gotten eaten up, and so as a result, the prices have gone up. So we have designed maps of what can be built and where can it be built. And so obviously, if you think about it, I went to the governor's mansion, and the governor said to all the mayors that were gathered, he said, if you don't develop your downtown, you don't have a chance. And so we took that pretty seriously. So we call it the halo effect, that we are focused on building downtown Lilburn as a quaint, cool, walkable, recreation, food experience. And that has a limited scope of acreage. So we have virtually every plot figured out what's going to go on there. We just brought in a 270 room apartment complex by Rangewater that's set to be, they'll start that project January 1 of this coming year. So everything is in play for that structure to go up. We thought through it and have a 6-story parking garage attached to that apartment complex. We get 300 spaces, the apartment gets 400 spaces, because people can't come to our city without a car. We bus them in, we shuttle them in, and that's not the way Americans want to be handled. We want our car to be with us, and so we put this parking structure right down. So the rest of our downtown is developed by more density or restaurants with potential living on top of them, or townhomes, condos, whatever it is. And then as you move out, we have more flexibility for people to develop along Highway 29. I think we call it between the presidents. And that is Highway 29 runs from Jimmy Carter to Ronald Reagan. So you can build between the presidents, those two highways that are named after former presidents of the United States. And so we want our apartments and some of our bigger units to be out there. 55,000 people come through our city every day that are not a part of us. They just use us as from Lawrenceville to some other point south. And so if you can imagine, Lou, that's going to bring a certain kind of problem to our city, and that is our police are not policing us. We're policing those who are coming from other communities and invading us and then getting back, because we have this wonderful 5-lane, I'd say 4-lane, but there's a middle lane on the whole stretch of it. And so we have a lovely town with our share of 34 officers, 34 officers that we have here to make us. The only list I really want to be on is I want to be in the top 5 of the safest cities in the state of Georgia. I really want that badly. So we pride ourselves in being a safe community. That's the bedrock of what every person wants in America. We want to live in safety. And then you go up with mobility and education, convivity rather. And so there are factors of why people want to live in a certain city, but Lilburn is certainly a desirable place. And we have places for servers or people who are in the service industry, and we have places for executives. So you cannot have your workforce far away from where you need them. So we have places for people in the workforce to be accommodated here, but also the executives that are running these multi-trillion organizations.
Between the presidents, how far is that between the presidents? How many miles?
6 miles.
6 miles.
And we don't have all of it. We stop. The CID, the Community Improvement District, they literally go from president to president. Lilburn stops when we get toward Jimmy Carter. We stop about a mile from it. So we pretty much have 5 miles. CID has all 6, but that stretch of road is a major thoroughfare. In fact, the reason, Lilburn went out of business after the stock market crash, after we had a big fire here in downtown, after the boll weevil visited us and wiped out all the cotton. Lilburn literally went out of business. The charter expired. It wasn't until 1954 when Highway 29, the Lawrenceville Highway, came into existence. The people in this little village wanted some protection about Highway 29. Then we reincorporated in 1954 to get back on our feet to be able to deal with this major highway. But it's a state highway. We have nothing to do with it. It just runs through our city. In fact,
receive tax revenue from any kind of future development on that road between the presidents for that 5 miles. Is that correct?
Absolutely, that is correct.
What kind of opportunities for development exist there?
Major apartments. We have a couple of investors that have come to us, approached us, and said, "Here's my concept drawings and plans." And we haven't seen an actual application, but that is a very good place for apartment.
What about strip malls? Is that an opportunity for strip malls there, or?
Do people still build strip malls?
I'm building one right now myself in Lawrenceville.
Well, I asked that as an inquirer, not as somebody trying to.
Yeah, they're
I
very
know
popular,
commercial.
actually.
Are they?
Yeah,
Yeah, so you drive up and get, you don't have to walk through a mall to get to
exactly.
where,
That's
what
people
you
want
want.
that.
I know the whole structure is changing, and I go to classes about it, but I don't have any of the, yes. Here's what happened to us, Lou. Back in the 1970s, somebody had an idea, if you can recall, that back in the early days, Indian Trail was a nothing, and Gwinnett County was so far out of downtown Atlanta that nobody knew we existed. Well, at that point, they said, let's build affordable housing for families. And they chose the first place it really started happening was Indian Trail Boulevard in Lilburn and Norcross. Houses have a half acre and a house, a half acre, what we were talking about. Those, many of them have now become rental homes, which really changes things. And so if you have a non-existent landlord who lives in another state, has no idea what's going on with his property as long as they get their check in the mail or it's paid for on a regular basis. It's created quite a change in how a city looks. And so we've incorporated a lot of these into our city so that we can keep watch and maintenance and code enforcement and everything that you do. But out on non-incorporated Gwinnett County, there is a very interesting dynamic of what's going on in the housing market out there. So we want density that would make sense on Highway 29 in the corporation of the city of Lilburn city limits, that we can police, that we can code enforce, and that we can bring to our park and our school system and make a community that works.
Have you targeted specific industries for that land, or do you particularly pursue, such as assisted living facilities or gas stations or hotels or multifamily? What do you have a goal for future planning for that
Mhm.
land?
We just finished our 5 year study, and in that study, we have determined where things can go. You know, the Titanic, when it went down, was helpful in retrospect of getting lifeboats on every cruise ship in the world. It was just overlooked before then. So a lot of cities, Lilburn not being the exception, you have older codes. And so we have people that just read our codes to say, oops, we'll get caught if we don't amend this particular code. So we just completed a major 5 year study that said we don't want to get caught. Somebody's going to go to try to put something where we don't want it. For instance, a um, a cemetery is in perpetuity. So if we have a funeral home that comes and wants to buy on Highway 29 and put a cemetery with it, and even though it would be an attractive place and it would be wonderful, in 75 years from now, Highway 29 is going to change rather radically just because everything does. And once you have a cemetery attached to it, you can't ever move it. That's why you see cemeteries, little family plots in the most unbelievable places. And you put a fence around it and say, hey, here's a big shopping mall, but over in the corner, here's the cemetery. So we've tried to think through these issues. So we've said, here's what goes where in our city, it's like playing Monopoly. No, maybe that's not a good illustration, but we want to make sure that in 75 or 100 years from now, that we have a city that can move along. And so some of our properties along Highway 29 are dated. And if you would love to come and do some tear down and rebuilds of, and bring some modern architecture where, in my mind, I know what I'm thinking about. There are some properties that radically need a facelift, and you're welcome to come here and help us.
Great. Well, that's extremely good to know that. The key thing is traffic count, and also obviously cost, and commercial property per acre ranges all over the place, up to 500,000 or even more per acre. Residential is a lot lower, maybe 100 to 200,000 an acre.
If you can get that, I'll buy.
For 100,000 per acre,
100,000.
200,000. I have a listing right now for 200,000 actually in Lawrenceville
Yeah, that's where you start around
for
here.
residential. But yeah, I just sold land to a gas station, 3 acres for $1.5 million. So that's 500,000. So I mean, there's a range all over the place. But I've become very familiar with the people in zoning at the county, and they're very helpful. For sure, they're very helpful, very pleasant, and Gwinnett County is a great place to build. The planning and zoning department is extremely cooperative and pleasant, and even you can go in and just talk to them without an appointment. And so anyway, I'd like to move on into how valuable is the fact that your proximity to the airport there? I mean, at the Gwinnett County Airport, how valuable is that? How much do your people who are living and visiting there in Lilburn use that? And do you have any other thoughts that people might like to know about the airport? I know it's not. The proximity is good to Lilburn.
Yeah. Um, Gwinnett County is launching a SPLOST referendum for transportation because our airport of choice here is Atlanta, Hartsfield, Jackson. And so we want accessibility to get from Lilburn to Hartsfield, not so much Lawrenceville. It doesn't have the commercial component that if you're going anywhere, you're going out of Atlanta. And so the transit plan is on the referendum on the ballot for November. And what we're trying to accomplish is having a person be able to go from their house being picked up by a transit Gwinnett County $3 ride to get to the park and ride out here on Indian Trail and then go to the airport. And so Lilburn is in such a key location because we're 3 miles from Highway 85 and about 3 miles from Highway 78. And then we have this Indian Trail that can get us laterally going either way. So it's a real hotbed for businesses to come in here to be able to have workers get to Emory and Decatur and also downtown. So a lot of growing communities are way up by Sugarloaf or up toward Hamilton Mill. Not so with Lilburn. We're tucked in here just at 18 minutes and we're downtown. We're that close to the freeway that'll get us there. So we have a nice little secret here that we love, and people have discovered us, and so that's why there's a rush on Lilburn.
That's very interesting that you are 3 miles from 85, did you say?
Correct. Yes.
That's I make maps, and I didn't know that. That's a great fact.
Yes.
I'm looking for
Separates us
about
from-
12 acres for truck parking close
Yeah,
to 85 people.
We'll
Do you
go
do any
someplace else. No, we're not very interested in truck
no
parking.
interest in truck parking? I don't know, it's hard to find.
It's very hard, yes.
So the schools, talk about the schools, and like, I know they're all county, but tell us a little bit about the schools in Lilburn.
The county has 184,000 now. They're down this year. We're 182,000. At the height, a couple of years ago, it was 187,000 students were a part of the Gwinnett County school system. So there's been a drop. I don't know why. I have no idea. But in Lilburn, we have, well, let's say this, 68,000 people share the 30047 zip code, and every one of them believes they're in Lilburn because their address is such and such a street, Lilburn, Georgia 30047. Out of those 68,000 people, only 16,000 are actually in the city of Lilburn. And you know that by who picks up your trash and what officer comes to, what's the name on the side of the car when an officer comes. And so in the city we have sort of a cornucopia of a number of Gwinnett County schools. We used to have the number one top performing school in the state, and that is the Parkview school system in that cluster. Then we have the Berkmar cluster is in parts of it are included, and the Meadow Creek school system is included. We have this amalgamation of these schools zones or systems, so to speak, that are all a part of Lilburn. And so some of our students go to these three schools. But then we have the pleasure of having a number of Christian schools and Montessori schools and religious schools. I think our largest school that is Providence Christian Academy. Is right on Lawrenceville Highway. Then we have Killian Hill Christian School. Then we have Parkview Christian School. Then we have the Montessori school system here, and then the Indian, or I think it's the Muslim community, have Al Fatah, I think is the name of it. So the public school system is not the only option in Lilburn, and it's very easy to get around to these schools that are private. And then in addition, this homeschool movement has just blown up. So we have homeschool academies whereby a number of families do art and music at a certain church, or they do tennis on local courts or sports. So the options are wild. And I think that's not just germane for Lilburn, but that's about everywhere, that we just have educational options for parents that want their children to be taught.
Tell us about the historic district hospitality zone on your website.
Yeah.
It's mentioned.
We have a city park and some restaurants around it. And so we came together and said, do we want to sell beer and wine in the park? And the answer is no. Is it possible, after you've had a drink in a restaurant, to be able to take a red cup, plastic cup, and have it full and walk to the park? Sure. Can you walk on the street with a cup in your hand? Yes. So we call that the hospitality zone. So you can enjoy your drink without having to zip it in the restaurant and then just go, you can enjoy our city with a drink in your hand.
Well, that's good. Now, that concert, you mentioned there are about 6,000 to 7,000 people who attend your concerts in the summer.
That's the big one. That's coming up in just a few weeks. That's our 4th of July spectacular. We have the second largest, I think we may have toppled Stone Mountain now in our, it cost $1,000 a minute for firework display. We do 22 minutes.
Wow, that's awesome.
That is a pretty big show. And the interesting thing is, you're sitting in the park, launch in the park. So, I mean, it's literally right overhead. So you don't see it in the distance. It's not like, hey, I see something. And then we pump our sound system to play all the patriotic music going on with a boom boom in the sky. And it's one of the most, what I think, community builders that we do. I live right by the park. I'm in the heart of this thing. And when we get ready to launch those fireworks, and well, we have the big concert that gets everybody dancing and all that sort of thing, and all the food trucks, then everybody turns the lights. We turn off the park lights, we turn off the stage lights, we turn off all the lights on the trucks and the lights around the park when it's time for the fireworks. And people literally sit in our streets with chairs. You can and watch. They just plop down right in the middle of the street. I mean, because it's all blocked off, obviously, and it's just so fun to have that kind of community going on. Then it gets dark and light and boom boom, and then everybody tries there, which isn't fun.
How can people subscribe to the Lilburn News and keep abreast of changes and developments and opportunities like concerts?
We've been trying to keep abreast of how people get information, and we used to send $18,000 worth of literature to your mailbox, where we have, here's what we're doing this month, and here's some interesting pictures of stuff. And we don't know if people read it, if they don't read it. So we've said this, hey, we've got all this intel. We have a person on staff, and that's all they do, market our city. But we said, we'll get it to you, but it'll be all electronic. So all you do is go to thecityoflilburn.com and you press a button and you tell us what you want us to send you. Do you want to be updated on all the concerts? Just press the concert button and you'll get a notice in plenty of time that there's a big reunion band, or there's a tribute band, or there's food trucks, or there's a dog parade, or there's a St. Patrick's parade, or a Christmas parade. We'll give you all that intel. If you want to press another button that says we want to know when all the meetings are, council meetings, the town hall meetings, we want to know when somebody sneezes, send us that. And do you want to know when we have the CID or the D? So we get all that information to you, but you have to come to us and request it, and then you'll be on our list, and you'll know everything we know.
Sounds like artificial intelligence to me.
Don't go there, bro.
Very good. Great. Well, nice to have you back on the show, Mayor. Appreciate the taking time to be with us and bring us an update.
8 years from now, we'll do it again.
No, well, let's try to get back within less than that. I know you're a busy guy, but we'll try to get on your schedule more frequently than that. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for watching AtlantaCommunityProfiles.com. You'll see this interview again on my Facebook page, and we'll be sending it out to all of the realtors in a digital format. It's on Facebook as well. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Thank you, Mayor.